make sure the audio is working. And it is. Wonderful. Let's adjust the lighting a little bit here. There we go. I think that's a little better. All right. Congratulations, Dylan. You are first. As usual. Just get my paint together. And we shall begin. Lost my paint. Alright, here we go. So, today, I'm painting an Exalted champion for my World Eaters army. This is not the Exalted champion model, if there even is an Exalted champion model. And actually, this could be the Exalted champion model. I don't know. I just found him in a bits pile and put this horn thing up top and called him an Exalted champion. So, that's what he's going to be. Starting off with Blood Angels Red contrast. And I'm just going to put this all over the miniature as the armor color. This is going to be one of, I believe, 3 contrast paints we're using today. Everything else will be layer paint. I've got just a little bit more contrast to do, which we'll actually have to reapply the primer on those areas to use them, but that's okay. Won't be a problem. And I've got a bunch of other World Eater models that I've been painting up. So hopefully at the end we'll compare them, or compare him to them. And hopefully he'll look like he fits right in. At least that's the plan. Just making sure to get all of this white covered up. We will be putting a wash on him later, but still don't want this white in too many places in the recesses because the wash might not cover it up properly. So, and I'm also trying to cover pretty much every surface because of the rule that I have about if you paint everything, if you cover the primer as early as possible, then you can stop wherever you want and have a quote-unquote finished model. If you leave a bunch of primer showing and then decide, man, I really don't want to paint these details, I just want to get him to battle ready and call it a day for now, well, you can't do that if you have primer showing. But if you just like leave some armor details red or leave some weapon details silver, that's not a big deal. You can always come back and fix those and your model can still be battle ready. So that's what we're doing here today. The axe I'm not going to worry about covering because I know that the axe will get painted. Just rinsing off my brush here, and then we're going to the hairdryer early tonight, but I think this should be our only, maybe one of 2 times that we're going to need it. So I'm just going to mute real quick, dry this up, and I'll be right back. Alright, so he's all dry now. And we can move on to some layer paint. So I'm going to start off with Iron Warriors. And I'm just going to block in all the silver. So it's going to be all the trim on him, basically. And then the weapons will be this color also. So I'm just being careful not to have any of this bleed over onto the red armor panels. A little tiny mistake here and there, it's no big deal. He's a chaos guy and he's a world eater guy at that, so he's going to be covered in blood and stuff anyway. It's going to be all dirty. So, little tiny mistakes. I don't even think they're worth going back to fix on models like this. Glaring ones, absolutely, but little tiny ones, eh. They'll just fade into the general griminess of the model. Making sure to get all the trim on these legs. There's quite a lot. But that's good because it helps him to fit in with the Khorne Berserker theme of this army, because they have quite a lot of trim. Just a little bit more down here. Right there. Alright, and there's his legs. So then we've got the blade of his weapon right here. As well as a little bit more trim right there. Alright, let's see what else we got. So shoulder pad lining, I guess you'd call this. Trim? Yeah, I guess just more trim. I was trying to avoid just using the word trim over and over, but I guess that's what it is. All right. This is one of the more tedious parts of this army, is doing the trim. I was painting some warp talons for this army earlier today, and boy, do those guys have a lot of trim on them. Even more than this guy. So but it's all worth it in the end when you have your fully painted army ready to go. So it's not a problem. And this is very much a battle-ready paint job that we're doing on him and on the whole army. It's not my main army, not even my secondary or tertiary army, really. So, just getting it done, just so I can pick it up whenever I need to and play with it. That's all I need. So we're going to get these things back here, and then we'll do the weapon, and we'll be done with the silver. Alright, there we go. Just rinsing my brush off because it's had silver paint on it for a while. Don't want it to start caking on there. So then we're going to paint the weapon here. I gave him a power axe. Goes well with his job in the army is just to run behind the Khorne Berserkers and buff them. So they all have chain axes, so I thought I'd give him a power axe just to set him apart a little bit, but still stay on theme. Alright. Now I'm going to go in and block in the couple things that we're going to have to repaint later with contrast paint. So for that, I have a fever. That's not good. Don't have a fever. For that, I'm going to use Pallid Witch Flesh. So this, I'm just painting in anything that's flesh, basically. So he's got this tentacle running down his chest here. I'm going to paint that in. And then he's got a couple sort of like flesh cables running along him. So I'm going to paint those as well. Since the contrast paint we're going to use will not cover over this red at all. Alright, is that the only... Nope, he's got another one over here. And does that wrap around? Yeah, just right to here. Alright. There we go. So we'll let that dry and we'll come back to that to put contrast paint on it in a minute. But for now, we're going to move on to our bones that we have on this guy, which is a lot of them. So we're not going to start with Screaming Skull. We're going to start with Rakarth Flesh, because it will cover over all of the red much easier. So I'm just being careful not to put this color on the red, and I'm leaving the red in between the ribs because we want it to look like these bones are sitting on top of the armor and that they're still red showing through. paint in these horns. And these little rib bones, whatever they are, on the other side here. And he's got horns on his helmet. He's got a kind of just got a lot of bones everywhere. Like I said, we can be messy with this because we're just going for battle ready. Not going for a super fancy paint scheme here. And the wash will... it'll come out in the wash. Does that phrase get used with painting? That would be awesome. I'm going to start using it. All the mistakes will come out in the wash. Amazing. Actually, I'm going to paint this entire thing. This entire horn apparatus up here. I'm going to paint this in this Rekarth flesh, and then I'm going to put the flesh color that we're going to use towards the bottom of it to make it seem sort of like they're being held there by some sort of flesh bridge that goes across his back or something. The skulls we're leaving red because I'm saying they're part of the armor. They're just pieces, decoration on his backpack. They're not actual skulls, at least in my head. So that's what we're doing. Alright, then we're just looking for any other bones. Oh, there's bones on the gun here. Okay, okay. Okay. The back of those. And then this bone over here. Alright, now we're good to go. So, then we're going to move to gold. And for that, we're going to use Retributor Armor. This is going to be the handle of the knife. Do the butt of the axe here, which is really a weapon in and of itself if you look at it. I think that'll be good for that. Yeah. Oh, I missed some trim, but I did that on purpose. I forgot about that. I've been putting on their weapon arms. Well, not on all their weapon arms, but on some of their weapon arms I've been putting gold trim instead of silver trim. And I had thought about that earlier while I was painting silver trim and then forgot about it. So I'll paint that in as gold real quick. Alrighty, so then we'll switch to our other silver, which is Granite Steel. Possibly one of the most heretical colors to be putting on a World Eater, but, you know. And this is just going to be the detail on the gun. A little bit too much water on my brush there. Didn't cover properly. There we go. And then that right there. And that right there. And then he's got some chainmail back hidden in here. grab that. Alright. Then we'll move on to our leather color, which is Mournfang Brown. Right there. And we'll put this on all the cloth. So this little strap holding the knife, the tabard cloth right here, as well as his belt. Just doing the handle of the gun in that color, and now the wrapping on the axe. Just right up to where the silver starts. Good. Coming down to the wire here. Well, not to the wire, but coming down to the end of this paint job. So first, I'm going to take some, going back to our flesh, I'm going to take some Magos Purple, if I can find it. I had Magos Purple earlier. The question is, where did I put it? Here it is. Magos Purple. And everything we painted white earlier, we'll get a layer of this. It can run over a little bit onto the onto the red. It's not a big deal because it won't affect the color of the red in any meaningful way. Just make sure to get it in there. All right, there we go. Then let's see what's left. We got to do another color on that fleshy part, but that doesn't matter right now. We're going to do his axe in the fang. This is just the blade of the axe that will be in this color. I haven't decided exactly what kind of effect I'm going to do on my power weapons, so I'm just leaving them this color for now. And then I can always, and that qualifies as battle ready, absolutely. It's painted a color. So then I will come back and decide later what kind of pattern I want. If I want to do glowing, if I want to do lightning, I want to do flames maybe, who knows. We'll see. So that's that. Now I'm going to take some Tesseract Glow and go back to the fleshy parts and just put a little bit of this scattered around on it. Just to give it sort of a weird fluorescent green kind of glow to it. Which I think looks good with the red armor. There we go. And then we are done except for two colors. So I'm going to bring the hairdryer back out, mute real quick, and we'll come back once he's dry. Alright, so that's all set. Then we're going to take some Null Oil and basically cover him completely in this, and then highlight the bone, and that'll be that. The method I use for my basing is not conducive for streaming. It requires PVA glue, and PVA glue takes a long time to set. So I'll just show you one of the other bases that I've completed already for a different model, and I'll just walk and talk through what all I did, and hopefully you'll still get the same general idea. Won't be able to see me do it, but nothing is super tricky on that, so I think it should be just fine. So like I said, I'm coating the miniature in this pretty thoroughly, making sure every surface is ready to go. Like I said, this is a dirty army, grimy army, blessed by corn. I don't think they take many showers, so. Alright, so once more into the hairdryer breech. Come out, highlight the bone, and then I'll show you the base. Alright, the wash is not completely dry, but it's dry on the surface of the bone, and that's all we require. So I'm using some Screaming Skull for this. And I'm just going to pick out areas of the bone, like closest up to the rib cage here, and just do a little line of it like that. And then same thing on the other side. Get in there. And then up near the tops of each bone. And with these larger horns here, we can actually do some streaks if we can. Just kind of make it a little bit uneven, sort of, to make it look like some natural growth is happening on these horns. And then just a couple little highlights on there. And then we've got his horns here. I'm just going to go across the top of each horn like that. And then I'm just going to run down the spine here. And then get these little vertebrae. And then a couple little highlights right there. And then, like I said earlier, I'm going to take my Magos Purple, which is what I used on the flesh, and I'm just going to put it on the base of the big horn apparatus he has on top of him. Right up here. Because it kind of looks like there's some flesh or something holding on to this bone, so we'll just color it in. Just like that. There we go. That looks good. And with that, obviously he has to dry, but with that I'll call him done. Obviously without the base, but we can show off a base real quick. I will just grab... I'll grab this Venom Crawler here. If I can. Here he is. So here's what the base will look like when it's done. So this one actually has some resin on it, but I won't do that for these size bases, only for the bigger bases. So what I do is I put some PVA glue down and then put down this kind of mild or medium grade gravel stuff. Let that completely dry, paint it black, dry brush it with Rakarth Flesh. Then I take some grass, static grass here, just like this. put that down in some natural looking clumps. Then I take some bright green tufts right here. These are Army Painter Spring Tufts, I think. And then I use some Gamer's Grass Dense Green Tufts right here to mix in there. And then I take some Talarn Sand. Sorry, Xandri Dust. I get those two confused. Stipple that around the base. Stipple it on the grass, on the tufts. Just kind of around everywhere. Then I paint the base rim black and call it a day. So yeah, that's what I'll do to this guy once he's completely dry. But because of the PVA glue, it does take about an hour or so to dry. And so I'm not just going to stream for an hour of glue drying. But thank you everybody for watching this Battle Ready World Eater Exalted Champion. Shorter stream today, but that's okay. Again, thank you for watching. I'll be back on Wednesday, and I'll see you then.